Welcome back. Now, in the wake of the digital revolution, companies, businesses, governments, banks alike are rushing to invest and train personnel, managers and executives on how best to prepare for the disruption. And the latest is Stanbic Bank, which is currently promoting an exclusive technical contracts masterclass training in Uganda. And they will do this alongside the famous David W. Tolan, is the founder of Scamo Legal and Boutique Law Firm in San Francisco, California, dedicated to technology agreements and providing advice and contracts about e-commerce, privacy, and intellectual property for clients. That's ranging from startups to global fortunes, about 100 of them. He's an author of the American Bar Association's, of course, best-selling Money on Technology contracts, and they'll be explaining more on the training that Stanbic Bank has prepared. And that's Adengo, Catherine, and David Tolan, who's visiting Africa for the first time. You're very welcome to the program.
You. I'm glad to be here.
Great.
Yes.
And Ms. Adengo, you're also welcome.
Thank you very much. We're very pleased to be here.
Great. So the transformative power of technology is changing things, and the way businesses operate, especially in Africa. We've been doing things rudimentarily, and companies have really dragged on positioning their companies to try and get used to this disruption that we call technology.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reasons Stanbic Bank is championing this cause and bringing an expert to prepare us for managers for that kind of transition. So first tell us a bit why shine a torch more into why you are promoting this training.
Okay, thank you very much. It's quite critical because you realize we're in a digital age, and everything that you see within the financial services is driven pretty much by technology. A lot has changed over the years, and I'm sure you've seen, you know, from where we've come from with traditional banking. I mean, you're doing your banking online right now, you have apps to do your banking, you're using your phone to do your USSD and make transactions, you've got mobile money services. You can see it's totally a different shift in how how financial services are being delivered to customers. So what is interesting for us and why it's very key is that with digitization, we want to make sure that we're at the forefront of driving the conversation and helping our customers as well as businesses in Uganda understand a specific aspect, which is technical contracting, that goes along with adopting these new technologies. I definitely won't spoil it for David because he's going to tell us all about that, but from a Stanbic perspective, of course, as thought leaders and being the leading bank in Uganda, we want to make sure that our customers and as well as the public get to understand more about this subject. I mean, there are budding industries, for example, oil and gas, that also has technical aspects to it, and you'll find that these kind of contracting elements would come in handy if somebody understood the subject really well. So, so without further ado, I
don't want you to steal the show.
Yes, I won't steal the show from David.
Mr. Tolan, tell us about the technical contracts masterclass. I hear a lot of jargon in that, and why technology contracts are very critical in the running of day-to-day business.
Yeah, I'd be happy
in the modern world of technology.
Sure, and thank you for having me again. The masterclass, what we're going to do is study and discuss the core clauses of technology contracts. The idea is to take what can be a very mysterious area, particularly for contract drafters who don't have an enormous background with technology, and provide the skills and knowledge to do a better job drafting and negotiating these contracts. So this class is meant for both the buyers, companies like Stanbic Bank that are most often in the position of acquiring technology, as well as the sellers, as well as folks who are technology companies and providing the technology. And one of the things that I hope to do is take a Kampala audience of people who may not be that familiar with these contracts and give them a somewhat more level playing field. It's a real problem when you're dealing with a counterparty in your contract negotiations who knows the technology 100 times better than you do, who's just extremely well versed in it. And while we can't necessarily entirely reverse that, by going through what these clauses are, what they're about, what the business issues really are at stake, we can level that playing field to a large extent. And that's really the goal of the class.
Catherine, why have companies, businesses, and executives in Uganda, for instance, have been dragging their feet, you know, in relation to adopting to, you know, the disruption and, you know, putting personnel in place, for instance, legal officers to try and deal, like in this country, I don't know how many legal people we have who can correctly deal with issues to do with technology contracts, for instance. And we have had cases where, you know, cybercrime, etc., you know, you try to look around for experts to delve into that area, but you don't. So, but there's companies have been dragging their feet. Why are you investing in this right now?
We feel like it's a prime time, and if you notice with all the developments within the country and across the globe, it's important for everybody to get an understanding, especially within Uganda. We are technology advanced. However, some of the elements within businesses, especially as they get software on board, whether it's a financial software. I mean, there are large companies using things like SAP, but then it's how do you form the contracts that create large institutional financial technology like that. You've got obviously the blockchain, which is revolutionary. So it's not that, I wouldn't say that companies are dragging their feet, it's just that we're trying to keep up. And this is a prime time for us to make sure we bring everybody on board to understand what this involves. So we will get there. I think within the region, in terms of pioneering around understanding technology and understanding the legal aspects of it, Uganda is doing fairly well. And we're moving along with the other partner countries. So
I say Stanbic is at the forefront of this. And David, how do you rate African companies, at least from where you sit in terms of preparedness for, and I keep calling it a disruption, for the preparedness of the disruption to drive businesses to the growth levels that they expect, and because this technological revolution, the transformation is also going to cost companies a little bit of money as well.
That's right.
So the preparedness, how do you see it? I know before you came, you really did your study very well. So how do you rate the preparedness of some African countries? Where do we stand?
Yeah, so first of all, it is a disruption. And unfortunately, or fortunately, it's become a permanent disruption. I mean, the pace of change in technology gives no signs of letting up. I think we're all going to have to get used to living in a world of relatively perpetual change. And that's really challenging, but it creates opportunities. In terms of how Uganda is doing, I have been really impressed since I've started studying Uganda and talking to people at Stanbic Bank about what we're going to do in this training and what we're going to talk about. I've been really impressed by the level of sophistication that I've seen and the knowledge of very cutting-edge issues like blockchain. What is the blockchain and how does it work? I think one thing that countries can do that have been on the outside of the technology revolution is turn weaknesses into strengths. I think, for instance, your mobile money system is an example of a system that Uganda built up as a result of some weaknesses, not having not having banks enough in the countryside, and ended up creating this really unique system that I haven't seen anywhere else. So my sense is that Uganda's well positioned, and the companies that I've seen in Uganda are well positioned to take advantage of these technologies. That doesn't mean it's not going to be an ongoing challenge. That doesn't mean it's going to be, here as everywhere, confusing for regulators, confusing for contract drafters, confusing for everyone to figure out what's happening and what are the good directions. But I see a lot of hope for making good use of technology.
Great, thank you. I know, Catherine, you don't want to agree with David when he says there are no banks in the country, because I know Stanbic has the largest footprint in the country. But that's just the side. Where is this training going to be, and when is that? And what should I do to be part of it? Can I just come and look through the window?
All right, the good news is the training starts tomorrow. It's actually a 2-day training. It's going to be at the Serena within the Victoria Hall. And it's on Thursday, the 12th, and Friday, the 13th. So if people would like to sign up, the information is both available on our website, our social media pages. All they have to do, just bear in mind, there's a fee of $350 to sign up. And what's great with that is that it comes with a professional accreditation. So for professionals, especially those who are ACCA members or in the Uganda Law Society, or perhaps doing procurement qualifications, might find this very useful because you do score points along with your accreditation. So it would be useful, and I'd like to encourage anyone who is quite keen to know more about the technical training. There's more information available,
All right,
and yeah. yeah, we'd like everyone to be a part.
Thank you very much. And David, do you want to briefly tell us about your book as we go?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so the book is called The Tech Contracts Handbook, and it's a very simple, meant to be very simple, user-friendly guide to technology contracts. It takes all of the terms and conditions that you find in software licenses, cloud computing contracts, and technology services contracts, and it explains them. It explains this is what's at stake, this is what the terms
And I
are
can
there
buy and
for.
read it online.
You can get it online at Amazon, etc.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you very much, David Tolan and Catherine Odengo.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
this, shining a torch into this training and how important it's going to be for companies, leaders, and executives. The leaders of Ethiopia and Eritrea have signed a declaration saying